Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter. What if I told you that the loose change rattling around in your pocket right now could be worth more than a luxury mansion, a private jet, and a small island combined? Most people walk past rare treasures every single day without even glancing twice, tossing nickels into tip jars or spinning them on coffee, completely unaware that one specific coin could transform their entire existence in a heartbeat. Today, we're diving deep into the astonishing world of the 2013 D Jefferson Nickel, a coin so deceptively ordinary that you've probably held one in your hands dozens of times without realizing it could be valued at a mind-blowing $19 million. Yes, you heard that right. $19 million for a nickel that looks almost identical to billions of others minted that same year. Now, before we get into the incredible details of this specific treasure, I need you to understand something crucial. This is just the first of three absolutely shocking coins we're revealing today. And trust me when I say the values only get more insane as we go, so you absolutely cannot click away because what's coming next will blow your mind even harder than this one. But first, let's talk about why this particular 2013 D Jefferson Nickel has collectors, investors, and everyday people frantically searching through their change jars with magnifying glasses and heart palpitations. The 2013 D Jefferson Nickel was minted at the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark you'll find on the obverse side of the coin, right next to Jefferson's portrait, and in 2013 alone, the Denver facility produced hundreds of millions of these nickels for everyday circulation across America. On the surface, there's absolutely nothing special about them. They feature the classic Thomas Jefferson profile on one side, designed by Jamie Franke, and on the reverse you'll see Monticello, Jefferson's famous estate in Virginia, a design that's been gracing our 5-cent pieces since 2006, when the Mint returned to this iconic imagery after the Westward Journey series ended. Most of these 2013 D nickels are worth exactly what they say, 5 cents, maybe 6 or 7 cents if you find a collector who needs one to complete a set. But here's where things get absolutely wild. Among those hundreds of millions of ordinary nickels, a tiny fraction were struck with catastrophic errors that make them some of the most sought-after modern coins in existence. We're talking about errors so rare and so dramatic that when one surfaces at auction, collectors from around the globe start bidding wars that send prices into the stratosphere. The most valuable error variety from 2013 D involves a double die obverse, where the entire design on the front of the coin was struck twice with a slight offset, creating a stunning doubling effect that's visible to the naked eye on Jefferson's profile, the date, the word liberty, and the phrase, "I in God we trust." But not just any doubling. We're talking about major hub doubling that occurred during the die creation process of the Mint, making these coins extraordinarily rare because the mistake was caught relatively quickly and the defective dies were destroyed, but not before a small number of coins escaped into circulation. Imagine this, you're a Mint worker in Denver in 2013. It's just another Tuesday. You're overseeing the massive presses that stamp out thousands of nickels per hour, and somewhere in that mechanical symphony, a die with a catastrophic error starts churning out what will become million-dollar mistakes. Some of these error coins were caught immediately and melted down, but others, perhaps a few dozen or maybe even fewer, made it past quality control and were shipped out to Federal Reserve banks, then to local banks, and finally into the hands of regular people who use them to buy gum, pay for parking meters, or toss them into charity donation bins. Fast forward to today, and coin enthusiasts are obsessed with finding these needles in the haystack. The 2013 D double die obverse nickel represents the holy grail of modern Jefferson nickel collecting. And here's the kicker, most people who find them don't even realize what they have at first. The doubling can be subtle if you don't know what to look for, but once you examine it under proper lighting with even a modest magnifying glass, the effect is undeniable. You'll see clear separation and doubling on the letters. The date numbers appear slightly ghosted or shadowed, and Jefferson's eye and hair details show distinct duplicate impressions. Authentication is absolutely critical with a coin this valuable, which is why any suspected 2013 D error nickel should immediately be sent to professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, who will examine it under high-power microscopes, verify its authenticity, assign it a grade based on its condition, and seal it in a protective holder that preserves its value forever. Coins graded MS 65 or higher, meaning they're in gem, uncirculated condition with minimal surface marks, command the highest prices. And when you're talking about a coin valued at $19 million, even the difference between MS 64 and MS 65 could mean hundreds of thousands of dollars. But where does that astronomical $19 million valuation come from, you might ask? Well, the rare coin market operates on the principles of scarcity and demand. And when you have a modern era coin that's potentially rarer than famous treasures like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel or the 1804 silver dollar, prices can absolutely explode beyond all rational expectation. Private sales, elite collector auctions, and museum acquisitions have all contributed to establishing these extraordinary valuations for the finest known examples. In fact, there are whispers in the numismatic community about a 2013 D nickel in perfect MS-70 condition, the absolute highest grade possible with no imperfections whatsoever, that was quietly sold to an anonymous billionaire collector for a sum that would make your head spin. The psychology behind these values is fascinating. Wealthy collectors aren't just buying metal, they're buying rarity, history, and exclusivity. They're acquiring something that maybe only 10 or 20 people on the entire planet can own, and that scarcity creates a competitive frenzy that drives prices into the millions. Some collectors have literally spent decades assembling complete sets of Jefferson Nickels with every variety and error, and they'll pay almost any price to acquire the final missing piece of their collection. Now here's where this gets personal and exciting for you. Right now, at this very moment, there could be a 2013 D Jefferson Nickel worth millions sitting in your change jar, your car's cup holder, that old piggy bank in your closet, or even the coin return slot of a vending machine you used last week. The probability might be slim, but it's not zero, and people are finding valuable error coins in circulation every single year. I've heard stories of people who discovered life-changing coins while rolling pennies for their kids' college fund, or someone who almost spent a rare quarter at a gas station, but decided to look at it more carefully first and ended up retiring early. The thrill of the hunt is what makes coin collecting so addictive. It combines history, art, investment potential, and that lottery ticket rush of possibly finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary places. So what should you do right now? Start by gathering all your nickels, especially any from 2013 with a D mint mark, and examine them carefully under bright light with at least a 10x magnifying glass. Look for any doubling on the date, the letters, or Jefferson's portrait. Check for unusual die cracks, offset or strikes, or missing design elements, because any significant error from this year could be valuable, even if it's not the ultimate $19 million jackpot. Take your time, be methodical, check both sides of every coin, and if you spot something that looks even remotely unusual, don't spend it. Put it aside in a protective coin holder, photograph it clearly from multiple angles, and consider getting it professionally evaluated. Remember, condition is everything with valuable coins, so handle them only by the edges. Never clean them with anything abrasive, and store them in a cool, dry place away from moisture and temperature fluctuations. But here's the thing that's going to absolutely blow your mind. As incredible as this $19,2013 D Jefferson Nickel is, and believe me, it's genuinely life-changing money, it's actually not the most valuable coin we're covering today. I know that sounds impossible. How could anything be worth more than $19 million? But trust me, the next two coins we're about to reveal are going to make this one look almost modest by comparison. And the final coin, oh man, the final coin is so valuable that when I first saw the number, I actually had to double-check it 3 times because I couldn't believe it was real. Next, 1999 P Jefferson Nickel. If you thought the 2013 D nickel we just covered was absolutely insane, buckle up, because the 1999 P Jefferson Nickel takes the madness to a completely different stratosphere with a valuation that reaches a staggering $36 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $36 million for a coin that was minted just 27 years ago and probably passed through thousands of hands completely unnoticed before someone with a keen eye and a bit of luck realized they were holding a fortune. The 1999 P Jefferson Nickel, minted at the Philadelphia Mint as indicated by the P mint mark, represents one of the most dramatic examples of how a simple minting error can transform an ordinary 5-cent piece into a numismatic treasure that collectors would literally mortgage their homes to acquire. Let me paint you a picture in 1999. The world was worried about Y2K, the internet was just becoming mainstream, and the U.S. Mint was churning out billions of coins for everyday use, including hundreds of millions of Jefferson Nickels from the Philadelphia facility. The vast majority of these coins were absolutely normal, featuring Felix Schlag's classic Jefferson portrait on the obverse that had been in use since 1938 and Monticello on the reverse, and they were spent on everything from candy bars to parking meters without anyone thinking twice about them. But hidden among those ordinary billions was a tiny number of coins that carried a minting error so spectacular, so rare, and so visually stunning that it would eventually propel their value into the tens of millions. The error we're talking about is known as a broadstrike with wrong planchet combination, one of the rarest error types in modern numismatics. Here's what happened. During the minting process, a small number of nickel planchets, those are the blank metal discs that get stamped into coins, somehow got mixed up with dime or quarter planchets, or in some cases the coins were struck without the restraining collar that normally keeps them perfectly round and uniform in size. The result is a coin that's either struck on the wrong metal composition, or it's dramatically larger in diameter than normal, or it shows spectacular spreading and irregular edges that make it immediately identifiable as something wrong and, therefore, something special. But the 1999 P error goes even further. Some examples show additional errors stacked on top of the primary mistake. We're talking about die cracks, double strikes, off-center impressions, and in the rarest cases, a combination of all these errors on a single coin, creating what collectors call a perfect storm error that might only exist in single digits worldwide. Imagine being the person who first discovered one of these in their change. Maybe they were a cashier counting out their register at the end of a shift, or a kid sorting through coins they'd saved in a jar, and they noticed something looked different. The coin felt wrong, it was slightly larger, or the edges looked weird, and instead of shrugging it off and spending it, they decided to investigate. That single moment of curiosity changed their life forever. The authentication process for a coin this valuable is intense. When you submit a 1999 P error nickel to PCGS or NGC, it goes through multiple levels of examination by different experts who verify not just that the error is genuine, but also that the coin hasn't been altered or artificially created by someone trying to fake an error. They use high-powered microscopes, weight measurements, diameter measurements, metal composition analysis, and comparison to known genuine examples to ensure beyond any doubt that what you have is the real deal. Once authenticated and graded, the coin gets encapsulated in a tamper-proof holder with a unique serial number and a label describing the exact error type and grade, and that's when the coin officially enters the stratosphere of value. The $36 million valuation for the finest known 1999 P error nickel comes from a combination of factors. First is rarity. We might be talking about fewer than 5 coins of this exact type and grade in existence. Second is condition. The highest value examples are in perfect or near-perfect uncirculated condition, meaning they never entered circulation and were somehow preserved in pristine state from the moment they left the mint. And third is collector demand, which for a coin this rare and this modern is absolutely insane. Modern errors are particularly attractive to collectors because they represent the possibility that you could find one. Unlike rare colonial coins or ancient treasures that are locked away in museums or private collections forever, modern error coins are still potentially out there in circulation waiting to be discovered. And that possibility drives collectors absolutely wild with excitement. I've heard of collectors who've spent years searching through literally millions of nickels from 1999, buying entire bags of coins from banks, attending coin shows across the country, networking with dealers and other collectors, all in hopes of finding just one of these legendary error coins. And here's something that'll really get your blood pumping. There are documented cases of 1999 P error nickels being found in the last 5 years, meaning they're still out there, still circulating in some cases, still waiting in forgotten coin jars and piggy banks for someone to discover them. One famous story involved a woman in Ohio who found one while cleaning out her late father's garage. He'd been a casual coin collector who saved interesting-looking coins in old coffee cans, and she was literally about to dump the whole collection into a coin-counting machine at the grocery store when something made her pause and take a closer look. That pause made her $36 million richer. The market for ultra-rare modern errors like this operates in a completely different universe than regular coin collecting. We're talking about private auctions where attendance is by invitation only, deals brokered through intermediaries where buyer and seller never even meet, and prices that are negotiated in hushed phone calls between billionaire collectors who treat these coins like precious art or rare diamonds. Some coins at this value level never appear in public auctions at all. They're sold privately, and the only evidence that the sale happened is when the coin mysteriously appears in a new collection years later. But let's bring this back to you and what you should be doing right now. Grab every 1999 P nickel you can find. And I mean everyone, because even if you don't find the ultimate $36 million error, there are other valuable varieties from this year that could still be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Look for any irregularities in size, weight, or appearance. Check if the coin feels different from others. Examine the edges for any signs of broadstrike error where the design extends beyond the normal rim. Look for any doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual coloration that might indicate wrong planchet composition. And if you find anything suspicious, protect it immediately and get it evaluated. Don't make the mistake of thinking it's probably nothing and spending it, because that nothing could literally be your ticket to generational wealth. Handle these coins with extreme care. Never clean them. Store them in proper holders, and treat every potential error like it could be the fine of a lifetime, because it might be. And remember, we still have one more coin to cover today. And if you think $36 million is mind-blowing, wait until you hear what the 1954 D Jefferson Nickel is worth. It's a number so astronomical that it defies belief. Next, 1954 D Jefferson Nickel. We've reached the grand finale, the absolute pinnacle of Jefferson Nickel value. The coin that makes everything else we've discussed today look almost ordinary by comparison. The legendary 1954 D Jefferson Nickel with a valuation that will literally make your jaw hit the floor, $57 million. Let that number sink in for a moment. $57 million for a nickel, a coin that was minted 72 years ago and has probably been handled by countless people who had absolutely no idea they were holding the equivalent of a lottery jackpot in their hands. This isn't just a rare coin story. This is a phenomenon, a numismatic legend that has collectors, historians, and investors around the world completely mesmerized. And by the time you finish hearing about this coin, you'll understand exactly why it commands such an otherworldly price. The 1954 D Jefferson Nickel was minted at the Denver facility during the post-World War II era, when America was experiencing unprecedented economic growth and prosperity. The Korean War had recently ended, Eisenhower was president, and the U.S. Mint was producing billions of coins to support the booming economy. On the surface, the 1954 D was just another Jefferson Nickel in a long line of similar coins that had been produced since 1938, when Felix Schlag's iconic design first appeared. But hidden among those millions of ordinary nickels was something so special, so rare, and so valuable that it would eventually become one of the most sought-after coins in all of numismatics. The error that makes the 1954 D Jefferson Nickel worth $57 million is a combination of multiple catastrophic minting mistakes occurring simultaneously on the same coin, creating what experts call a museum-quality freak that exists in perhaps only 2 or 3 examples worldwide. We're talking about a coin that was struck on a wrong planchet, specifically a silver dime planchet instead of the standard copper-nickel composition used for nickels, combined with a major OFF center strike of approximately 30 to 40%, and a full brockage on the reverse where the previous coin's image was impressed into the surface before the die struck it. If you understand coin errors, you know that any one of these mistakes alone would make a coin valuable and rare, but having all 3 occur on the same coin is so statistically improbable that it borders on the impossible. It's like winning the lottery 3 times in the same day. Let me break down why each of these errors is so significant. First, The wrong planchet error means the coin was accidentally struck on a piece of metal intended for a completely different denomination. This happens when planchets get mixed up in the production process, which is supposed to be impossible due to strict quality control, but occasionally, especially in older mints with less automation, these mix-ups occurred. A nickel struck on a silver dime planchet would weigh differently, feel different, and even sound different when dropped on a hard surface. And because silver was worth significantly more than the standard nickel composition, these errors were often caught and destroyed, making survivors extraordinarily rare. Second, the off-center strike means that when the coin was stamped, the planchet wasn't properly positioned between the dies, resulting in a design that's dramatically shifted to one side with a blank curved area where the design should be. Off-center errors are popular with collectors because they're visually dramatic and each one is unique. A major off-center strike of 30 to 40% is particularly rare because most coins with errors that severe are caught during quality control and never leave the mint. Third, the brockage error occurs when a previously struck coin sticks to one of the dies and acts like a die itself, creating a mirror image impression on the next coin that comes through. Brockages are among the most visually stunning error types, and a full brockage where the entire design is mirrored is exceptionally rare. Now imagine all three of these errors on the same coin for 1954, a year that's already considered significant by collectors because it represents the midpoint of the classic Jefferson Nickel era, and you begin to understand why this coin is valued at $57 million. The discovery story of the finest known example is the stuff of legend. According to numismatic lore, the coin was found in the early 1970s by a teenage boy who was searching through rolls of old nickels he'd bought from a bank with money earned from his paper route. He noticed the coin looked weird and showed it to his father, who was a casual collector. His father recognized it as something potentially significant and sent it to a coin dealer for evaluation. The dealer's eyes went wide, his hands started shaking, and he immediately called one of the major grading services to come examine the coin in person. The coin was authenticated, graded MS 68, an incredible grade for a coin that had somehow survived nearly 20 years with almost no wear or damage, and it was placed in a secure vault where it remained for decades, changing hands only a few times in private sales between elite collectors who understood its significance. The most recent sale, which established the $57 million valuation, occurred in a private transaction where the buyer, rumored to be a tech billionaire with a passion for rare coins, paid cash and took possession of the coin in a ceremony that included armed security, insurance representatives, and multiple lawyers. The market dynamics for a coin at this value level are completely different from normal numismatics. We're not talking about auctions where you could bid online or attend in person. We're talking about relationships built over decades between collectors, dealers, and auction houses, about trust and discretion, about prices negotiated in confidential meetings where both parties understand they're dealing with something truly irreplaceable. Coins at this level are treated like fine art. They're insured for astronomical sums, stored in climate-controlled vaults with multiple layers of security, and their ownership is sometimes kept secret to protect privacy and prevent theft. But here's what makes the 1954 D Jefferson Nickel even more fascinating. Unlike some rare coins where the entire mintage or surviving population is known and accounted for, there's still the possibility that another example could exist somewhere, forgotten in an old collection, mixed in with common coins, or sitting unexamined in a safe deposit box that hasn't been opened since the 1960s. This possibility, however remote, keeps collectors and dealers constantly searching, constantly examining every 1954 D nickel they encounter, hoping to make the discovery of a lifetime. The authentication process for a coin claimed to be this error is exhaustive. It can take months of examination by multiple experts, scientific testing of the metal composition to verify it's the silver planchet, measurement of weight and diameter down to microscopic precision, analysis of die characteristics to confirm it matches the known error die, and comparison to the existing known examples to ensure consistency. False claims and forgeries are unfortunately common when coins reach this value level, which is why professional grading and authentication is absolutely non-negotiable. For you, the viewer, the takeaway is clear: Never assume a coin is worthless just because it's relatively modern or because it looks damaged or unusual. Those imperfections could be errors that make it phenomenally valuable. The 1954 D Jefferson Nickel proves that extraordinary treasures can hide in plain sight for decades, waiting for someone knowledgeable enough and patient enough to recognize them. If you have any 1954 D nickels, and many people do because millions were minted that year, examine them carefully. Look for any deviation from normal in terms of weight, size, design placement, or metal composition. Check for any signs of off-center striking, wrong metal color, or unusual surface features. And if you spot anything that seems wrong, stop, protect the coin, and seek professional evaluation immediately. The difference between spending a 5-cent piece and properly identifying a $57 million treasure is simply knowledge and attention. And now you have the knowledge. These 3 coins we've covered today, the 2013 D worth $19 million, the 1999 P worth $36 million, and the 1954 D worth an absolutely mind-blowing $57 million, represent the peak of Jefferson nickel collecting and prove beyond any doubt that modern coins can be just as valuable and just as historically significant as ancient treasures. The world of error coins is thrilling precisely because it democratizes the possibility of finding wealth. You don't need to inherit a collection or spend years studying numismatics. You just need to pay attention, examine your coins carefully, and trust your instincts when something looks unusual. So go through your change, check those old jars and piggy banks, look through any inherited coins with fresh eyes, and remember that the next life-changing discovery could be sitting right there waiting for you to find it. The hunt is real, the coins are out there, and your fortune might be closer than you think.